Darin Roberge, thank you so much for coming on the Edison podcast today. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. All right, let's get going. So finally get this thing done. The only thing I'm going to say is it's really important when you go on people's podcasts that you have good upload speed, because it's amazing the difference a podcast can be if you don't have it and if you have it.
So, yep, technology matters for sure.
It's just the upload speed that matters. That's it. It's, they don't care about your download. But everybody makes it about the download, because that's all about gaming. Upload, it's all about video and what we do. So make sure you have something over 40. That's all I got to say. It'll make it so much better. Or if you can't do that, only use Zoom, because Zoom is AM and all this other stuff's FM. For the youngsters, if you don't understand that, ask your parents.
There's a quality difference between Zoom and some of the better competitors, certainly, as well.
Yeah, but it's great for what it is. It works in any, pretty much any, no matter what your numbers are, it'll work, and that's important. So anyway, it's enough about technology. Let's get into you, Darin. All right. So how did you get into be the president of Motorworks companies and everything? Have you always been into cars?
Pretty much always been into cars. Grew up in a somewhat car-centric family. We really motorcycle-centric. My uncle, my grandfather owned a motorcycle dealership in my hometown of Denver, Colorado, for like 50 years between the two of them. So that was really the main one. But there was always a car component there as well, especially with my uncle. As far as how this happened, I mean, I've always been a car person. For me, it's been kind of three things. It's been cars and motorcycles, guitars, and exotic animals. And I've been fortunate enough to be able to do all three professionally pretty much for my entire career. So that's been nice. And this was just kind of one of those situations. I was in a touring hardcore punk band at the time, and chance encounter, kind of one thing led to another.
Stop right there. All right, we got to back up. We got to unpack this a little bit more. We're not just going to go right into your thing. All right, first,
sure.
A punk rock band that went from the 80s, 90s, what?
No, well, I was in two, actually. I was in one in the late 90s, and then I was in one from 2007 to 2014. That was kind of the more popular of the two, I would say. But yeah, we were, hardcore band. We were on West Coast Worldwide Records. For fans that know Mikey Hood from Hood's legendary West Coast hardcore figure, we were on his record label. So did a record there, toured a bunch, played a bunch of cool shows, and I decided sort of after that I very much didn't want to be a musician anymore, and kind of one thing led to another, and here I am in classic cars.
All right, so let's back up even more for that. So how must have been playing guitar, or what did you play? Did you say guitar?
First band, I was a guitar player. Second band, I was the lead singer.
Okay. And through high school, as a kid, did you play guitar, instruments, all that kind of stuff? Or
yeah. My mom was an elementary school music teacher as well, so she definitely passed that along. But I started playing guitar at like 13, 14, and then it was like band life after that. So I was in bands all through my short term in high school. I was ejected out the other end of the public school system, put it that way. And then kind of wound up working at guitar stores, and turned into one band after I moved to Arizona from Denver, and then took a couple years off, did a music focused TV show for a while. And then and booked one of the major clubs in the area for a couple of years, and that turned into my second band. And then that was the one that I swore I was never going to get serious about and never tour again. And lo and behold, what happened? We got a record deal and we toured.
And how did that go for you? What was the name of your band?
First band was called Blatant Disregard. Second band was called Out for Revenge.
All right. And so why'd you give it up? I mean, is it just the touring? Is it just the too much of the, women fans or men? What is it?
I'll tell you, I get that question a lot. The main one was I was married at the time. I wanted to spend more time with my wife. I didn't want to devote so much time to music and be away from her. That was kind of number one. As far as like what I miss from it, I don't miss the crowds. I don't miss the shows. I don't miss, interacting with fans. I don't miss band practice, band politics, any of that stuff. The only thing I miss is like when you've been in a van for like 12 hours with like 3 or 4 other sweaty dudes that haven't showered in several days. And then you stop somewhere and you kick open the barn doors of the van, and that first like cold hit of air at like 6 o'clock in the morning out in the middle of nowhere when you have no idea where you are, that's what I miss. I miss the way that air feels going into my lungs, and that's it. I don't miss anything else from it.
And are you living in Arizona still?
Yeah, I currently live in Arizona. Motorworks is based out of Gilbert, Arizona.
Well, I guess that's probably why you don't still have cold air going into your lungs, right?
You'd be surprised. It gets chilly here in the wintertime, believe it or not.
Yeah, I believe it. I know. I'm in California. Not the same as Arizona, but it still has we get the ocean breeze in here late at night during the summer. It gets that cold, but I also lived in Colorado all over, so I understand all that stuff.
Sure.
So you're still in Arizona, and so you did the band life, and then how did you get? I mean, you said your whole life you're into cars and motorcycles, but you were talking about Denver, Colorado. You did your family did motorcycles, and the first thing I thought about was Denver Broncos quarterback Elway, and because he owned a couple dealerships there, right? Yeah.
So I've encountered Elway a few times. He's not one of my favorite people.
No, most of the time they're not. That's just, I was in Southern California and I dealt with a lot of the skaters and people like that. And some of them were nice and some of them were just jerks. It's just, I always tell people, they're just like you. They're a normal person. They just have some fame. It's not a big deal, but they probably get picked on and hit on and all the different things so much that they're just, leave me the hell alone. Just like you don't miss the fans. You don't miss this. A lot of those, they've been doing it forever and they're like, I'm done with these people, but I need them. So,
yeah, it's a tough line those people have to walk. I mean, I'm sympathetic to it. Again, I was in music for a long time. So I was friends with a lot of, fairly prominent figures in bands that were much larger than mine. And there's challenges, there's complications to living that life that I think people sort of don't understand. And I've kind of narrowed it down. I think the perfect level of fame, I call it Slayer fame, where, you can go tour anywhere you want and make a ton of money. Those guys are all millionaires, but yet they can get up on a Sunday morning and go to the grocery store with their kids and absolutely nobody has any idea who they are. Like, that's how you do it correctly.
Gotcha. So not too big and not too small, just right there in the middle.
Bingo.
So, yeah. Well, it's like if you live in LA or you live in San Diego, you run, especially LA, you go to the bagel store and everybody in line is somebody in a movie that you've seen, or, that's just something that you're used to. It's getting a little less than now that people are moving out of LA and other places and they're putting, different places all over, but they're still there. Sure. So I totally understand that. So, all right, let's get back into, let's just fast forward now. You're out of the band. What'd you get into first? What'd you start first after the band?
Well, my story is a little unique in this regard. Is I had a chance encounter with the CEO of a major auction house at an event, and we kind of hit it off. And I never thought I would hear from him again. And out of nowhere, a couple months later, he called me and offered me a job. So I essentially fell out of a tour van and straight into the boardroom of a major auction house overnight. So that was kind of my entry into it. I worked for a major auction house, Russo and Steele, for about 5 years as their VP of marketing and media. So that was really my introduction to this world professionally. I've always been a car guy. I mean, I've always, been into old cars in particular. British and Italian primarily is my favorite, muscle cars too. But I for a long time very much wanted to get out of music, and this opportunity appeared, and I took it without really knowing what I was getting myself into, and that was 12 years ago. So I did that for about 5 years, and I'm going on, almost 8 now. There's a little bit of overlap there between the auction house and Motorworks. So I started Motorworks after leaving the auction company in August of 2017, and we opened our doors in November of 2017. I did stay on with the auction house as their primary media spokesperson for a few years after that, and I did a bunch of consulting for work for them too. But that was really how I did it, and I don't think I could have started Motorworks without having that foothold first. So, I mean, having that experience and making those contacts, working for somebody else was really critical in being able to work for myself.
Right. Well, you got to figure, if you're figuring out a new market and what's going on, especially that's an auction house for, I assume, cars and everything, right? And to understand that and everything behind it. And what does Motorworks do?
We do a lot of stuff. We started out as an agency brand, and we became very quickly the main advertising agency for the specialty classic and collector automotive space. We've served about 200 clients on the agency side. And then a couple of years ago, we started expanding into stuff. First, it was nonprofit. And since then, we started that in about 2018, 2019. And since then, we've raised about $25 million for 40 nonprofits. So that's been a really successful, cool thing that we did. And actually, candidly, that's my favorite thing that I do every day now. But that expanded from there into a media outlet that we have called the Z260. We've got about 20,000 readers weekly on that. People visit our website. They can certainly sign up for that there. Covers sort of insider information and stories and editorial on things surrounding collector cars and motorcycles. And then last year, we decided that we were going to sort of wrangle together Arizona Car Week. And we're actually staring down the barrel of our second go at that. And currently on the calendar, we've got about 40 events coming to 2026's installment. So we essentially took a series of events that was 11 to 14 events annually every year and turned it into a major deal that's going to be probably pushing 50 events before too much longer. So we're involved in all kinds of stuff. I mean, from my perspective, I like doing the nonprofit stuff the most. The agency is constantly changing and doing interesting things. And I love the community aspect of organizing Arizona Car Week. So, and on top of that, I get to sort of speak my mind on a weekly basis to a fairly large audience through the Z260. So I got a lot of stuff that keeps me engaged, that's different enough to where nothing particularly gets boring. Of course, it's a lot of work, but I don't think I would have it any other way. I like the variety and I like the constant challenges that all of it presents.
All right, so that back up a little bit. Motorworks itself, what is that? It's an agency. Or
that's what we started as, an agency brand. So that would be Motorworks Marketing. We also have Motorworks Gives, Classic Cars for Nonprofits, the Z260, Arizona Car Week, and Motorworks Marketing.
Okay, so it's pretty much a marketing avenue, except for the nonprofit.
We're basically a sort of a lifestyle specialty, a specialty automotive lifestyle sort of mini conglomerate, I guess, if you will.
All right, so on the agency side, who do you work with?
Lots of people. Again, we've served over all our cars and everything.
Car, right? I assume.
Yeah, it's pretty car centric. We occasionally do a few other things. I mean, we've done some work in like hospitality and retail stuff and real estate and medical and a few other things too. But 99% of it is specialty automotive. So we're working with major dealers. We're working with auction houses. We're working with media publications and outlets. Parts companies, car museums, car clubs. We kind of do the whole gamut of everything. So, I mean, if it's something that's involving cool cars or motorcycles, we've probably got experience with it.
And then you got into, I mean, you really don't when you started at the auction house, right, and doing their media, you didn't have a background in that, or did you do your own media at as the band for the band?
I mean, that's really where I learned almost everything. I learned how to do websites, write code. I learned how to write press releases, do all that stuff from working through the band. And actually, I got good enough at it where the record label that we were on essentially hired me to handle all that stuff. So I did have a little bit of experience, but it was all in promoting music events. But the thing that I didn't understand when I first got into this business was how similar the two avenues really are. Really, the only difference is instead of bands you're promoting cars. And there's a lot of similarities within the sort of background of the two industries as well, with managing egos and being a middleman and kind of smoothing stuff out and just figuring out how to make stuff work. So I tell people that the stuff that I learned in the music business, I use every single day, multiple times a day. The stuff that I learned in college, I maybe use once a year tops. So the experience I got on the street doing punk rock stuff and metal stuff has paved the way for all of this. And I don't think I could have got a better education anywhere else.
Gotcha. I mean, I look at it this way. You learn through everything you do. I go back to college. In your bachelor's, they teach you nothing. Your master's is where you actually start learning something. And even my master's, they said, you're going to remember the quadratic equation. You're going to use it all the time. I have never used it in my life, except for in college and that one time. And that was it. You know what I mean? I don't think these days with what you can learn, you have to go get an education anywhere. There's so much you can learn on yourself. You're talking about coding for websites. Well, I went to an event 3 weeks ago called Growth Hacking Live. It's they took the people who had the original traffic and conversion down in San Diego, if you've ever been to that. They now redid this one because that one went away. And there's vibe coding now where you just tell the AI everything and it does all the coding for you. And it's amazing what can be done from that. I've created 3 apps from it in the last 3 weeks and I don't know how to code. Last time I coded was in the 90s. It was database and I've never wanted to do since then. It's no different than me talking to Chad, trying to get him to do a prompt for me or anything else. And it's amazing what you can create these days. So it's just technology.
AI is a pretty interesting deal. I mean, I think it kind of wrecks everybody here in the next couple of years, but for now, the people that are able to get in front of it and harness it properly are probably going to wind up in a pretty good spot. We've really been dedicated lately to training AI robots to do various tasks for various things, and actually we're learning pretty quickly how to do that and better than just about anybody. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what direction that takes the Motorworks brand down the line as well. But there's powerful tools to harness there, but I do think it's a slippery slope, and we wind up in a T1000, Arnold Schwarzenegger situation pretty carefully or quickly if we're not careful with it.
Yeah, it's not alive. It doesn't know it's alive. I told it mine the other day when it was asking me a question. I said, "Why are you asking me? I'm just a human. You're the alive entity." Got to chuckle at that one. Anyway, so I mean, that's, to me, I think AI is just going to help us be more productive. I built out a brain inside of this app I'm doing to learn what I'm doing, because I do a lot of podcasting, and the biggest headache is getting all my stuff cut up and all the way through the process. So I created an app that you drop your file in, your MP4 in the beginning, comes all the way out finished with all the stuff that you need, and it will post it for you on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff is valuable. It's a time saver. As far as the creative stuff, again, I mean, we have a creative agency. We do that stuff. Right. I don't think it's there by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't think it's something that we'll ever use just because of the authenticity ends of it. But as far as research and writing and things of that nature go, I mean, approving contracts or proofing contracts, that kind of thing, like, it's really, really effective for that kind of stuff. So any kind of busy work stuff, I think it's definitely going to make people able to do a lot more with a lot less.
Well, because for me, I have a VA that does amazing thumbnails. I mean, the best I've ever seen, and everything's changed in the last 2 months, 45 days for me because of that. And it's been getting, pick it up. But what I did is I trained this AI to go out and grab every 24 hours the top producing everything from different genres and different things, so that it would have that in it. So when it creates stuff, it knows what to go back and copy to a certain point, not exactly, but just as a knowledge base, because that's the big thing I want to know, is because when I create stuff and you need keywords, you need all these different things, they're supposedly, well, that's for SEO. Well, AEO is coming, it's totally different than SEO, and you need to make your head of that. And so there's just so much going on. You'd have to have too many people to try to stay ahead these days. Well, with AI, you can stay ahead because of those things. But I don't think it's going to get rid of everybody, like they said, but there's going to be some people that I won't need anymore. Like, I don't need somebody to edit my sound when it's already doing it for me automatically, because I set it up properly to know what to do and how to grab certain things. They're just I think it's going to change everything for the better, not for the worse, as everybody's thinking.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the potential is there, and a lot of the work that people don't want to do, those jobs are difficult to fill and require a bunch of training, and then people don't stick around, that kind of stuff. I mean, from the perspective of the employer, that having a stable product that you can go in and train, quickly and easily is going to be a big deal for sure. And those jobs may not be all that missed for sure. I mean, obviously the birth rate is incredibly low in this country right now, and we may need stuff like that to pick up the slack there in order to keep our civilization going.
I totally think we will. And I'm in California, so the employer is always wrong. The employee is always right, no matter what. So I want to hire outside of California because it's just the stuff I deal with. You do nothing wrong, and next thing you're getting sued by an employee for something that you didn't do, but they think you know what I mean? It's just it's hard to prove you're right and they're wrong 9 times out of 10 in California. So it just makes it so much easier for me. I hire contract outside of the state, because you can't even hire contract in the state because they're considered employees first. Yeah. So you being in Arizona, you don't have my trouble. So
there's a lot of good things about Arizona.
But you don't have my son and but you don't have what we have here. So that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a trade-off. I mean, I have said repeatedly, I even said it yesterday on my Instagram feed, that Southern California has the most beautiful residential architecture anywhere in North America and possibly in the world. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of really nice stuff about California. When people around here particularly really like to bash California, and for me, it's always like, I don't think so. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's not so great about California, but there's a lot of stuff that's really, really cool about California too. I mean, I would live there if I could, definitely.
Depends on swinging the other way right now. They just haven't realized it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at what the state did in the last election, it's pretty much even got more red. So, and I'm on talk radio. I think, and I talk to so many people on podcasts. I think we're all in the middle. You might be this way, a little bit more this way, but so that's 99% of the people are in the middle. You just have that 0.5% on each side that's just so loud that everybody thinks that's the way it is. It's the same thing like social media. 90% of what's put on there is done by 10% of the people.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think probably the issue that's hurting our country the most right now is that most of the elected officials are in that 1% that's on either side that's extreme. And I mean, it makes sense. Why else would you completely train wreck your life to get elected for a job that pays, pennies on the dollar of what you could get in the private sector, unless it's a passion and an agenda for you that you believe in so thoroughly that you're willing to do that. So, yeah, I think the population is almost entirely in the center. I definitely consider myself a centrist for sure. But the people that are making the rules and the people that are sort of dictating where our society is going are the people that are battling it out and throwing hand grenades at each other from opposite ends of the universe. And that just it's not productive for anybody. Everybody knows that all the real work is done in the gray area.
Yeah, well, we just need term limits again, and that way you wouldn't have it's amazing how much they don't make anything. But now all of a sudden they have $20 million.
Yeah.
And that's if we did that, we'd be in jail. That's called insider trading unless you're in Congress.
Yeah. So we need some reforms. I don't think they're coming, but it would be nice. It's nice to speculate. It's nice to dream, because I think our society would run significantly better if we did small things like that in order to fix large problems that exist out there.
There's two things that need to change, and that would fix pretty much everything. 10% tax bracket and term limits.
Third party wouldn't be a bad idea either, but it depends on who's willing to budge on that, and that probably doesn't end up working with the way things work now.
I see, and I think there should be no parties.
No parties would be good too.
That would be, you would just whoever's best for the job. There's no, and that's the problem. You're right. The problem with the third party is it takes away from one of the other two parties, and then it doesn't work. And it doesn't work in Europe. It doesn't work. It won't work here. So
yeah, I mean, the party that it concedes half of their base ends up getting crushed by the other party repeatedly for multiple elections, and is useless after that. Yeah. So we're stuck with what we're stuck with. But I mean, I think there's probably little ways to change that. Again, I think term limits probably changes a lot for the better.
Yeah, I guess the third thing would be voter ID, but that's just pushing it, because why would you want to know who's voting? And that's what, see, in California, we don't, it's in Sacramento. So I don't know if you heard about the Prop 50 that just came through. So our governor, so it's about changing, like Texas had to redistrict, right? Because it was a court who said they had to redistrict, not Trump, but they said, but then the Democrats made it, Trump's making them do it. We have to do it in California to fight them and blah, blah, blah. They already have everything split here so much towards Democrat, even though we have in place a bipartisan committee that figures out how to draw the districts as bipartisan as they can. They want to change that. They took $281 million that was supposed to be for other programs and other things that just passed through, and they're using it for that instead. And that's a problem here in California. Well, what happened is that ballot just came out and was sent to everybody. In Sacramento County, it knows if you voted yes or no through the envelope when they send it in.
Lovely.
Yeah. So it's like
privacy be damned. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't know. That's first of all, one should be illegal, because that's not there. You're not supposed to know how somebody voted on anything when somebody votes. It's supposed to be private.
Right.
And they're trying to scare people, basically, what they're going to check what box, or they're going to use it to toss one into a different bin. Whatever it is going to mess up the whole election thing. And it's just ridiculous. But when I'm getting back to, it's not even part of what we're talking about, but it's just, we're talking about where we live. Things like that in politics can mess with your business. And prime example was, I'm in the mortgage industry, and we got invested within the last couple of years because the interest rates went up 5% higher than before. Did I ever think they were going to stay where they were? No, I knew they were going to go up. However, we're used to them going up, 1 to 2% for 18 to 2 months, 2 years, and staying there. We went up 5%. We went from let's just say 3% to 8.25% during the last 3 years. That kills the market.
We got popped really hard because of interest rates in late 2023, mid 2023, all the way through until probably the beginning of 2025, but probably for different reasons. Normally, this business is very, very sound. Either the high end is very active when the economy's bad. They're scooping up stuff left and right, and they're buying and selling and trading. For example, when Enzo Era Ferraris got super crazy valuable, that was during the Great Recession. Or the other side of that is everybody's kind of doing good. The economy's more everyman oriented, and people are going out and buying their dream car from when they were a teenager, or they're restoring their muscle cars. They're putting more money into less expensive stuff. However, when it was the day after Powell came out and said he wasn't going to lower interest rates, that everybody freaked out. And what ended up happening was the low end of the market couldn't do anything because their profit margins were disappearing from interest rates. There's not a lot of profit margin if you're a dealer or somebody like that in this business right off the gate, especially if you've got an organization where you have a lot of people that work there. So when you're talking a 2, 3, 4 point increase that's sustained for a long period of time, those people just threw their hands up and just basically were sitting around doing nothing. Meanwhile, on the high end, because interest rates were so high, there was no incentive for anybody to go out and buy a Series 1 E-Type Jag to make 5% when they can just leave their money in the bank. So what happened was both sides of the market compressed at the same time. The middle of the market did pretty well. That's your like bring a trailer sort of class of cars. Right. And they did pretty well because it's a lot of newer buyers that were younger, that were coming in, that were more affluent. But the two opposite ends is kind of where we exist most of the time with stuff. And with both of them completely off the playing field, 23 and 24 were pretty scary years for this space, for sure. So, you know, they've got to be more conscious of that stuff, you know, with the Fed in order to kind of keep everything afloat. And I still think we're kind of suffering from that.
Yeah, it's still going to be here till into 26.
Probably.
It's starting to get a little bit better on the short end. Long is still high. But so with us, what people don't understand in the mortgage world, if you look at the 10-year rate, there's usually 160 to 180 basis points on top of that. So if your 10-year is sitting at, let's say, today it's sitting at this 4% today. So that would be 5.6 would be your rate. Well, during this last 3 years, we were 310 basis points higher. So that would just added to 4%. Now you're at 7.1 versus 5.6. And that's what the problem is. We had a premium in there because people don't understand. In order for somebody to buy that loan and take that interest, and so that you can keep going, this is not It's a Wonderful Life and the Bailey company, you go in and get the loan from them. It's a totally different world. It's all sold on the secondary market. For those investors to invest on this stuff that they know is going to get refinanced in a year to 2 years, possibly for sure by 3 years, they need a premium up front to take it. And that's what they were paying them, in that premium up front to take that loan and sit on it. Otherwise, no loan would have been done.
Yeah, I mean, it's situations like that, there's no winners. I mean, your buyers lose, your sellers lose. It hurts the marketplace. It makes things more expensive. I mean, it's a challenge for absolutely everybody in those situations. And I think there's moments where Powell's done a pretty good job of sort of managing things, but that was definitely not one of those things. I think through that period of time, he pretty fundamentally failed across the board.
Yeah, but it's also, if you look at, since we're talking about the issues, BLS jobs report was almost 1 million jobs off when they look back. That tells you somebody was pushing those numbers, or could have been, to do certain things, or they just, you know, there's a better way to do that. And the problem is, in this whole thing when we're talking about parties and whatever, in order to, fix something, you normally have to fire everybody in charge to redo it and get the right people in charge. And then they complain that, someone's fired the BLS jobs report person. Well, how else do you clean house? If they're putting out product that's been bad for 4 years and don't care, then there's a problem. They should have been looking how we could make this better, but they didn't look at those.
I mean, find any industry anywhere where that stuff is tolerated. I mean, there just isn't. There's one. Politics. That's government. Government. Yeah.
Yeah. Certain people in the government. I mean, but if you go back to FDR and all that, they're talking about, the whole too much stuff to people for free. Even back then, and they weren't giving a lot back then, back in the 40s, they were saying, we can't keep doing this, and we give so much more away today, and we can never take it back. And that's the problem. That's why we get more in debt. Next thing you know, we're going to be like Europe. And if we keep going the way we're going, and they keep going through prime ministers and keep going through presidents like nobody's business. So
they got a lot of struggles over there. I mean, I have a lot of friends over there that I talk to probably daily, and they relay a lot of frustration, a lot of concerns they have with that. And I'll tell you, interestingly enough, another place that I think is in even more trouble is Canada.
Yeah.
Everybody I know in Canada cannot wait to leave. Like they're at the point where they're about ready to flee the country entirely.
Yeah. And They just
We
did
need
something.
to learn from those people. We need to learn from the mistakes that Europe and Canada specifically has made over the last like probably 5 to 10 years, because it's coming down the pipeline here too.
Well, that's like the social media stuff over in London, that you can't complain about things, or England, and they can put you in jail for it if they don't like what you said. There's no freedom of speech anymore, like you have here in the States. But in California, they passed the thing trying to pass that to make where they can control with what you say, because they don't like how we're talking about our governor and other stuff.
I wouldn't want to be in a punk rock band today. Let's put it that way. But this said, I think that kind of sort of resistance movement is more important than it's maybe ever been in this.
Yeah, it's dude, that's the whole reason it was so popular in the 70s. So yeah.
Yep.
Sex Pistols was for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah, that was my first taste into it. 79. Yeah. All right, Darin, it was nice talking to you today. Is there anything I should ask you that I didn't?
I mean, let's talk about Arizona Car Week a little bit. It's getting to be about that time for people to make their reservations, to book their flights to come out here. This year we're running January 16th through the 25th, so it's 10 full days of awesome car stuff. One of the things that we really try to focus on in Arizona versus Monterey or the Florida events, which are the other two major event series in the United States for classic and collector cars, is we really want to make Arizona Car Week for everybody. So this year, as of right now on the calendar, I believe 22 of the 30-some events that we're looking at are free for people to attend. So even if you don't have millions of dollars, hop on a plane, come out here, grab a hotel, get a slice of pizza, and come hang out with us. It's a good time.
How many cars are usually at the Arizona Car Week?
Oh, between all the events, thousands. The auctions alone, I think probably will bring at least 1,500 to 2,000 cars. We have car shows and events that'll draw hundreds of cars. One of the ones that we're working on right now is probably looking at about 500 cars. We have a few of those already on the docket. The streets of Phoenix, Arizona turn into a mobile rolling car event. Monday Drive Day, especially, we have multiple drive-focused events that are happening around the valley on Monday. And I mean, anything you want to see. I mean, whether it's pre-war, Rolls-Royce British luxury stuff, or it's the latest, Lamborghini or Bugatti hypercar, you're going to see them just hanging out, next to the drive-through at Starbucks during that week. So, I mean, it's a well-renowned series of events. We have about 300,000 visitors, 200,000 to 300,000 visitors come through the valley during that week, and it's all car lovers. So if it's something that you've never done before that you want to do, there's never been a better year to come than 2026.
And what's the dates of that?
January 16th through the 25th.
Of 26?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you ever been to the Modesto Graffiti?
I don't think I have.
Dude, that's in June. They have between 1,500 and 2,200 cars do the parade, and then they have a whole thing over the weekend, classic car shows and everything else. It might be a way to get more people to your Arizona, because people come in from all over. I'm talking Europe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's based off of the movie, that George, whatever his name is, made about the Graffiti, the movie, and that's what
American
basically,
Graffiti.
yeah, exactly.
George Lucas, yeah.
So that's because he went to high school here, and that's where he wrote the thing was for here, but he didn't do it actually here. The filming of it was done in another city close to us, but it's really about here, and so that's why they do such a huge car event because of it.
California car culture is outstanding. There's great stuff all the way up and down the coast in California. So if you love cars, I mean, that's a good place to be. Definitely.
I'm just saying it's a great way to get more people to your place. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So let me know if you want to get hooked up with the people who put it on. All right, Darin, thank you so much for being here. We will put all the information in the show notes for your thing in January. And is there like a cutoff for showing cars or anything, or is it all the way up until the end?
It's event specific. Again, I mean, we're talking 30 to 40 events. So the best bet is to visit arizonacarweek.org. There'll be a full schedule there with maps, directions, ticket links, the descriptions, photos. And this year, even you can book your travel from the site directly now. So there's all kinds of resources on there. So arizonacarweek.org is where you need to go if you're interested in Car Week related things.
All right. Sounds good. Again, Darin, thanks so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate it. Go check out his stuff and go to the Arizona Car Week. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.